It's singed. It's singed. Go play him right now. That's the video. Goodbye. Currently in League of Legends, we have had a shift in the top lane meta to possibly the best meta that we have seen in quite a number of years. No longer do you have to worry about tanks dominating the lane top lane. No longer do you have to worry too much about ranged harassers ruining your day, champions like Gnar, Teemo, and Jace. No longer do you have to worry about just picking boring champions because you have to fit them into your team comp and otherwise you end up losing the game. We are now finally in a meta where bruisers are king again. Jax, of all champions, who has been so poor for so long, might even be one of, if not the best top lane pick at the moment. Champions like Jax, Aurelia, Fiora, Camille, these are all the champions that you're going to be seeing in the top lane for the most part. Skill expressive champions with tons of outplay potential are now the best top laners you can play, and not only that, but you are finally able to carry games from top lane again because of it. It's such a beautiful thing and should make everyone so excited. However, even in this awesome meta, you can still ruin everything for everyone if you're really that big of a jerk. And the way to do that is to go play Singed. Singed is the exact opposite of everything that's good right now. He is the exact opposite of being a skill-expressive champion, whereas on champions like Aurelia or Fiora, you have to have all sorts of outplay potential and tons of mechanics. Whereas Singed, you gotta press like 2 buttons. Not only is he thematically different from all the other top laners though, but he's also a counterpick to every other top laner in the game at the moment. He's really one of the best top laners you can play, and if you are not already abusing him for free low and solo queue, you should really pick him up soon. Let me go ahead and expand on all of this right now. So currently in League of Legends, we see a number of different top laners that are very popular, who all have above a 10% play ratio. Fiora, Gangplank, Aurelia, and Camille. These are all champions that are very similar in their archetype. They're skill expressive, they're bruisers, and a lot of the other champions out there that are knocking on that 10% pick rate are kind of similar in their playstyle. Champions like Jax are getting up there. However, in recent years, a lot of these champions have either been reworked or are recent releases, like Camille, and Riot has moved away from letting bruisers do stuff in the early game. It seems as though in Riot's mind, these are not champions that are allowed to be good in laning phase though. Every one of these champions has very weak laning and is meant to scale into a monstrous powerhouse in the late game rather than trying to outplay people 1 versus 1 in laning phase. Now, normally you can't do anything to punish these weak laning phases because if you're going along with the meta yourself, then you're going to be playing someone that's weak in laning phase too. This makes most of these lanes a skill matchup with a few exceptions here or there, and overall it's a very enjoyable experience because you can try and outplay your opponent in laning phase, you can try and outscale them in the late game, and overall it feels like the better player is gonna win. But what if there was a champion that had good scaling that could also punish weak laning phases? And that's where our boy Singed comes in, because Singed counters this exact kind of playstyle. Singed is a champion who's a tank that's mostly about late game scaling, but he has this weird kind of playstyle where he gets to be very aggressive in the early game only if he's up against a weak laner. Between his flip, his poison, his base damages, and the early build that you go where you stack Dark Seals on top of a corrupting potion, Singed is actually able to crush the early game as hard as someone like Pantheon would. He can only do it against weak laners, and if you go and play Singed up against someone that can actually do stuff in laning phase like Jace or something, then he's going to get completely destroyed. But Jace isn't nearly as popular as all these other top laners are right now. Every single one of those champions that I mentioned, Aurelia, Fiora, Camille, Gangplank, and Jax, they all get beat by Singed. Singed has a higher than 50% win ratio against every one of those champions, sometimes hard countering them to a degree like Jax, who he has a 57% win ratio against. Even in the best case scenarios for someone like Camille or Gangplank, all you're doing is kind of hoping that you can maybe survive the laning phase and outscale him, maybe lock him down or something, because they just barely have a less than 50% win ratio against him, but still, he's beating everybody. Even Fiora, who some people mistakenly think that she can play against Singed 1 versus 1, she only has a 46% win rate against him. This is the reason that if you go on OPGG right now and see all the top rated top laners that you can currently play, you're gonna see tons of different bruisers, tons of different juggernauts, tons of different fun champions, and only 2 to 3 tanks in the top 20 rated top lane champions. Yet despite how weak tanks are, you're gonna see Singed right up there with all the other top-rated top laners. Singed actually has the highest win rate of any top laner in the game right now if you ignore all the other top laners with less than a 3% play ratio. Which, another reason why Singed is so strong is that all of his counterpicks are really weird champions that'll mess up a team composition if you go try and play them. Stuff like Teemo, stuff like Kale, maybe Cassiopeia top lane. The best that you can do right now is try and pick a Darius or a Vladimir up against Singed, and then you'll have a 50-50 shot of winning the game. Other than that though, you don't really have much to worry about even if you first pick Singed in your next ranked game. And you know what? I'm gonna tell you to do it. Go first time him in ranked for all I care, because this might be the easiest champion that you can play in League of Legends. I really believe that he might actually be the easiest champion. He's for sure the champion that you have to click the least amount of buttons to play successfully. There are no mechanics on Singed. You turn on your poison and you right click to run around, and even if you end up just not playing him as efficiently as you could, because there are a few mechanics of flipping people into your goop to snare them, and you can of course use much better W's in some instances than a lesser player might. But overall, you can be very effective while being very bad at the champion. This is one of the reasons I've hated him for so many years. You will actually find games when you play Singed where you end up going 1-8-6 or 2-7-10 or some horrible score, even like 1-5-0, and you're still gonna end up winning those games somehow. The reason being, there's not much an enemy team can do against Singed. You can't really gank him in the early game to try and prevent him from snowballing off of a weak top laner, since if you spend all your resources top lane, then that'll let other lanes win pretty freely and it'll let the enemy jungle do whatever he wants. On top of that, he's also really good at scaling even when behind, and if you're focusing him in teamfights late game, then you know, you're focusing the tank. You're not really doing that much, whereas if you ignore him, then he's gonna run and flip your AD carry into his team, or he'll go and deal a significant amount of damage with poison, even if he only has a Rylai's, or maybe not even a single AP item. And on top of that, right now it might be easier than ever to play Singed because there are a million different items that work very well with him. You can go for a full tank build where you build an early Righteous Glory into maybe a Banner of Command and then a Rylai's for the slow on your poison, or you can go full AP, rush a Rylai's into a Shirelia's Reverie, which works very well on Singed, on top of maybe something like an Abyssal Mask into a Liandry's Torment. I've been playing Singed a little bit these past few weeks, and what I've kind of found is it's surprising how hard it is to mess up on him. Even in the games where you end up completely screwing over your lane and just messing everything up when it comes to your laning phase, you will still find that you're able to win games surprisingly easily. And the reason for that is that Singed's kit is deceptively strong. I mean, it is insane how much utility he can bring to a game. The biggest thing I have to mention in this video is his wave clear. You don't really think about wave clear being such an impactful thing in League of Legends until you play Singed, who probably has the best wave clear in the game. I mean, his poison is insane what it can do for you. You can actually go shove a wave to a tower, then go proxy the next wave and immediately recall. By the time you walk back to lane, you will have missed maybe one CS, really not missing much CS at all, and not having to worry about a teleport or anything like that. You can easily wave clear lanes getting perfect CS and then immediately running into the jungle to invade or go gank another lane while the enemy top laner is still goofing around trying to get his first CS. Later on in a game, you can go deal with massive minion waves, clearing huge amounts of minions in such a short period of time and still finding time to go and group with your team in an instant. I mean, it's very useful being able to clear minions so quickly and then go provide use to your team elsewhere on the map, be it in the early game with ganks or just grouping late game. Also, I probably should mention how useful his flip is. His flip, his E ability, that is one of the best engage abilities in the game. I mean, whether you're trying to set up for ganks, whether you're just trying to kill someone 1 versus 1 in laning phase, or if you're trying to get a great engage for your team late game, there are so many uses for this ability, which is why it actually costs more than your ultimate at max rank. And on top of all of this, even if you play Singed, and even if you mess everything up, and even if you lose your laning phase and you feed the enemy top laner non-stop, you can go and proxy farm. Proxy farming is something that kind of goes and extends off of the wave clear strength that we were talking about earlier. A lot of Singed players used to do this back in the day where they would run past the tower and farm the next minion wave before the enemy top laner would be able to farm their own minion wave, and that would allow them to keep the wave shoved, get perfect CS, but it doesn't actually do that much nowadays anymore because you're putting yourself at risk for dying and you're not really doing anything. I mean, you're getting perfect CS, but the enemy laner's getting perfect CS. Overall, it's much smarter harder to just lane normally because you're going to get kills in laning phase 1 versus 1 if you're not proxying. But proxy farming is still a last resort that you can use if you no longer can lane. Like, if you mess up your lane, then you could just go proxy farm. You're able to constantly push waves. The enemy top laner can't really go and kill you if they're gonna, you know, they have to deny themselves a lot of CS to do that. And even if they do that, they're not getting much gold because you're feeding anyway. And as I previously stated, even in those instances where you feed nonstop, you still win games. I don't even understand how it happens myself, but it just happens so often. Seriously, Singed might be the best top laner in the game right now, and he is someone that you absolutely should know how to play, which doesn't take that much skill, but you should at least try him if you're someone that ever plays top lane, even recreationally. I mean, the worst thing that could happen is that you lose, and even then you still win. Seriously, go play him now. Go. Video's over. Go play him right now, and thank me later in a comment after you go get a bunch of wins. I hope you guys all enjoyed watching today's video. I will see you all tomorrow, but until then, thank you very much for watching. Good luck in solo queue, and have a wonderful day.